What is up, Pitt fans? Thank you so much for turning in Inside the Panthers on YouTube. My name is Stephen Thompson. I'm so happy to have you here for another edition of the Inside Pitt practice report coming to you from the South Side after practice number 6 of training camp with the Pitt Panthers. It was another important day for the Panthers as they get closer to the start of the 2023 regular season. Pads went on, full pads went on for the first time, and the Panthers really got to start hitting each other. Bit of a ramp up, though, not going full go right away. As Pat Narduzzi told us, they are not just going full live for all of practice right away. They're going to ramp things up. It is Tuesday now when I'm recording this, and they've got a scrimmage on Saturday that looms, and that'll be really important. So they will go full live then. But for right now, they're just kind of getting their feet wet, still kind of getting those first few licks, but still an exciting day for everyone. Everyone's getting excited. We got to see a little bit of some 11-on-11 stuff. They ran about 6 plays in front of the media during the open portion of practice, but that gave us a little bit of a glimpse into what the Panthers might look like this season and what the depth chart maybe looks like right now. Pat Narduzzi told us that there is some competition still going on along the offensive line and defensive line, and this is where stuff really starts to heat up, especially in the trenches. This is when guys can actually hit each other, and that's the most important thing of going into the lines. These guys won't really be able to show anything until they can actually hit each other. So that's why today was so important for them. But you also got to stay healthy. So he's not just going from 0 to 100 right away. He's letting these guys take their time a little bit. They went through some live periods, not a ton, but it's really at the end of the week with that scrimmage that I mentioned on Saturday night at Acrisure Stadium. It'll be fully live, closed, but it'll be an important moment for the team and for the coaching staff to kind of determine where everyone is actually at and how ready they are for real competition. So they're just ramping up to it right now, but it'll still be a really important day. And these days leading up to it, when they are in full pads, maybe once or twice, and can actually hit each other, it would be good to get the juices churning and the blood flowing before they actually get to real hitting on Saturday. Speaking of competition, there's more competition, maybe some surprising competition at running back that Pat Narduzzi mentioned today. Rodney Hammond, obviously the top guy. You kind of assumed that Sebo Flemister was entering training camp as that number 2 guy, and he might still be that number 2 guy right now. But during the portion of practice we saw where the Panthers did some 11-on-11 work, Derek Davis was actually the guy to take second strings reps. Montrevious Lloyd, a true freshman, was taking the third team reps. We did not see Flemister take any reps with the full team. It was interesting. And Derek Davis is a guy that Pat Narduzzi loves to talk about. He's been very complimentary of him throughout training camp. We hadn't seen a whole lot of him. And quite honestly, his reps, it's just 2 plays, but his reps with that second team didn't wow you. But you trust that when Narduzzi puts him in a situation like that, it's because they've seen good things from him throughout training camp. They like that he's got speed. They think he's got power as well. They think power is the name of his game, but he's got surprising speed. So they really like what they've got from him. Lloyd is another guy who's a good athlete, but a true freshman. So he's still just going to get his feet wet, and he was not a mid-year enrollee, did not participate with the team in the spring. He just came in this summer, so he's still got some learning to do with the playbook, and he's got some catching up to do there. But it's just interesting to see those guys maybe leapfrog Flemister for a few reps. I think Flemister will get his opportunity to play and will still get his chance to prove that he should be that second back because, he's the second leading returning rusher. He rushed for 5.5 yards per carry a game, or 5.5 yards per carry last season. And that's after coming in a little bit late, during the summer as a transfer from Notre Dame. He was a little behind the curve, and he still was able to carve out a role for himself in a running back room that did suffer a few injuries, nothing major. Israel Abanikanda obviously made it through most of the season as the top tailback. Rodney Hammond was his backup, but Rodney went through some injuries as well. So Pat Narduzzi told us that, even when things are going really well, when everyone's perfectly healthy, you maybe still need 3 running backs. So he's going to count on as much depth as he can. I think the Panthers have at least 3 guys capable of giving them some good snaps, at at least early in the season, at least right now. But I think they're still looking for more. They're still looking for that insurance, and Lloyd and Davis are kind of competing to not just move up the depth chart, but be the guys that are called upon if things go wrong like that. Speaking more about that competition that I talked about along the offensive line, it was interesting to see Ryan Baer take some snaps with the first team offensive line. He was at right tackle. He and Ryan Jacoby was there at left guard. Branson Taylor, we talked about him yesterday. He, along with Jacoby and Bear, were kind of the three offensive linemen competing for two spots. And today Taylor was at. Bear was in his spot at right tackle that you have to assume, with Goncalves man in that left tackle spot. He's, an all ACC preseason first team guy. Jake Cradle's very solidly in that center spot, and Zubovic has at least one of those guard spots. So Bear told us these versatile today. I got to talk to him after practice. He can play tackle. He can play guard. He'll get some work at both spots. But, during the portion that we saw, it was him at that right tackle spot, and Taylor was the odd man out, which is something that I got to tell you, I don't think I would have predicted, coming into this practice or coming into this training camp. I think another thing that was interesting was during the portions that we saw a lot of deep passes down the field, but deep passes out of just two receiver sets. It was just Mumfield and Means out there with a couple of tight ends. So they were still able to look downfield. They were still able to find some balance and run the ball as well. Bob Means came up with a massive play over MJ Devonshire. It was the first play of the day. There were a lot of bombs being thrown, but Means came down with probably the best catch that we saw of the afternoon over MJ Devonshire, like I said, who was an all ACC corner last year, probably the best corner on the team, if you ask most people heading into this year. It was a real impressive play for Means. I thought he took a bunch of steps forward during the spring and looked like, quite honestly, a completely different player. And that was some further proof of it. We hadn't exactly seen him make a ton of plays. We just hadn't had the opportunity to see him do that in training camp so far, but that one certainly caught everybody's eye. And then I think also just the frequency of those big plays, like I mentioned, it was across the board, everyone from Phil Jerkovic to Christian Veillere to Nate Yarnell from the quarterback's room were taking shots downfield. I think the Panthers have a little bit more faith in their ability to do that this season, and that'll reflect in their decision-making and their play calling once the season begins and the bullets start flying and the things actually count. I also want to shout out Brandon George, who tackled for loss with the twos in team drills. I'm real excited about him. I think he has a real chance to start this year and start not at a position you might think. I like him at that Mike spot, that middle linebacker spot, but he's down 15 pounds, like I mentioned, I believe, in a previous video, and he's got a little more positional versatility. So he's making a name for himself. He's standing out, making some plays. So he's someone that could definitely continue to push for playing time. And I want to wrap it up by just identifying a couple of some new takeaway stickers, guys who made some plays over the weekend and on Monday when Pitt started to introduce some more competition, it would appear. I think the biggest ones, guys who came up with takeaways, that be true freshman Rasheem Biles at linebacker. He had a takeaway sticker on his helmet, the first of his career. Donovan McMillan had a takeaway sticker on his helmet. That was the first one of his Pitt career. Isaiah Neal, another true freshman, had one on his helmet. Linebacker Kyle Lewis had one. That's a redshirt freshman. Dylan Bennett, linebacker, had one as well. And Matt Maffa, a defensive back, had one as well. I think Biles is one that you really got to watch there. He and Jordan Bass are two true freshman linebackers that have really been catching the eyes of head coach Pat Narduzzi. He talked about them a little bit today. He loves their athletic ability, but, like all of these other freshmen that we've talked about, they've really got to pick up the playbook real quick if they hope to play right away. But these are guys who are candidates for special teams right away. I also think the McMillan one was significant. McMillan has been running with the second team so far. It looks like PJ O'Brien and Javon McIntyre have taken an early lead in the competition for starting safety spots, but McMillan continues to make plays. He and Steph Hall, like we mentioned in our last video, who has 2 takeaway stickers now, he was also working with that second team. So those are guys that could push for the top of that safety spot. And if they continue to make plays, it'll be hard to ignore them. With that, I'm going to get out of here. We'll have another practice report coming for you later in the week on Thursday from the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex. I appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure to check back with us on Thursday and Friday, like I said, and find all of our reports coming straight from training camp on InsideThePanthers.com. You can subscribe us on YouTube, like this video, and hit that subscribe button. That's youtube.com/InsideThePanthers. Make sure to keep following us with everything coming away from Pitt Panthers training camp. I'll see you all the next time.